Good morning. The recording has started. This is Stephen Wynn with the Loving the Coronavirus course. It's April 9th, Thursday, 2020. And welcome, everyone. Very happy to have everyone together again with the intention that we might go very deeply and create an entirely new relationship in our culture with this virus, both for humanity as a whole and for each one of us individually. So, as I've done the last few days, before we actually start the morning's meditation, I'd like to stir the pot a little bit. And this morning I announced yesterday I guess I announced the theme sort of to be the political ramifications of this pandemic. So, to get to the heart of it, how do you feel about our president and his handling of this pandemic? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you look forward to hearing from him again every morning, every day on the airways? Did he respond in time? Was it too slow? Was it too late? Not enough? How do you feel about, and I'm just going through complaints I've heard from people, how do you feel about President Trump sort of dismantling parts of the Center for Disease Control? That's the accusation. I'm not quite clear on the truth of it, but there's probably something there. But how do you feel about it? You dismantled it, got rid of all the experts that President Obama had assembled, and put in his own crew, apparently. And was our government prepared enough? Should we have seen this coming? You know, most of us have heard about that Bill Gates TED Talk where he described what could happen and seems to have happened now. I think he did that in 2015. And whether we're pro-Trump or against Trump, you know, nothing was done back there in 2015. And nothing was done after it. So what's our government supposed to be doing for us? And just feel the reaction coming up within you. Feel it. I'm just trying to stir the pot, find the buttons to push here. Now, some of us on the phone, strong Trump supporters. It really does go both ways. The country's divided. So how do you feel about the critics? Are they fair? Is the media being fair? You know, here's the Democratic Party trying to impeach Trump in the middle of the start of this virus. How smart was that? How do you feel about the mainstream media? How do people feel about Fox News? Sort of the counterpoint to the mainstream media. Yeah, lots of energy here, isn't there? So good. Feel that energy. And remember it. Feel how you're feeling now when we're sort of just normal political conversation. And with that, let's move into our hearts, that we might start to live from our hearts. And let's just actually set that as an intention. It's okay for us to live in our hearts. It's okay for us to make this roughly 18-inch journey from our heads into our hearts, where our center of awareness actually lives inside of our heart. We think with our hearts. We act from our hearts. Day in, day out. We are heart-centered beings living in this incredible ocean of love that the mind can never see or experience. It's always the heart that does that. The mind can notice it, I guess. At any rate, let's just begin our morning practice by putting our hands over our heart. And just be with our hearts. Maybe we can feel our heartbeat through our palms, through our fingertips. But mostly it's just a time for us to say good morning to our hearts. Energetically, what happens is the energy comes out of our heart through our hands. That's why we call our work our labors of love. And by holding our hands over our heart, we're just completing this circuit. Energy goes out into the hands and comes back into the heart to nourish and sustain our hearts. Just notice what 2 minutes does. You can let your hands down. Notice your state compared to when we were all slightly agitated, talking about our political world, or not, depending on who we are. And now let's begin our heart rhythm meditation. This wonderful practice that just pulls us into our hearts. I always give thanks to Parad and Susanna Baer for bringing this back to life from the time of the Desert Fathers and Mothers. They teach it in a school called I Am Art, a really sweet school. At any rate, let's just sit up straight, hands in our laps. If it's comfortable with your palms up, it's just slightly more powerful. But be comfortable first. Feet on the floor. And just allow the head to rest in complete alignment over the spine. For most people, that means to tilt the head forward slightly so we don't lean with our chin. And just begin noticing our breath. How full. Which nostril is more open? Or maybe they're both equally open. The inhale, the length of the inhale, or the ease of the inhale versus the ease of the exhale. What does your breath want to tell you today? And we just ask. We don't mind if we get an answer or not. Now that we've said good morning to our breath, let's start shifting our breath slightly, moving into a full inhale and a full exhale. And the easy way to do that is to exhale fully first. Pull the abdominal muscles all the way back toward the spine. And then open up for a full abdominal breath. We want an easy full breath, easy full exhalation. And just check again. What's your experience as we flush our body full of life force, chi, prana? How does your mind change? How does your body change? What happens to your experience, your presence, wherever you are, in the room you're in, the space you're in? I don't know if you can hear that occasional banging on my window. There's a beautiful bird that keeps trying to fly into this room here. Keeps banging up against the glass. In many traditional cultures, birds are the equivalent of angels. They're messengers. So I take that as a wonderful omen, a wonderful sign. So let's begin connecting the rhythm of our breath to the rhythm of our heartbeat. Typically we inhale to the count of 8 heartbeats. Exhale to the count of 8 heartbeats. Could be 6 or 10, whatever's comfortable for you. Use your pulse. If you can't feel your heartbeat, it will come. Feel your fingers on your wrist, put your fingers on your neck, or hold your breath, and you'll start to feel your heartbeat. Again, always just till it's comfortable. We're culturing our breath. We're not forcing our breath. There's an old story from India on if you want to keep a dog in your backyard, you can chain it to a peg and it'll stay by force. Or you can feed it every day and it just wants to be there. We want to love our breath so that it wants to respond and expand, get stronger and deeper. Always from love, not from force. Inhale, 8 heartbeats. Exhale, 8 heartbeats. I'll just let everyone do that for a moment in silence. And of course, if you've given a name to your heartbeat, please use that all the time. It goes without saying. For those who may be coming in late to this course, it's very helpful to pick some divine being or some divine quality. Usually a 2-syllable word. If you're out of the Vedic tradition, it might be Rama, or Krishna, Lakshmi, Devi. Could be Buddha. Could be from Mother Mary, Mary, or Jesus, or Allah if you're a Sufi. Whatever's right for you. It creates a great attunement to that being or to that quality. And yesterday we started this process of breathing directly into our heart from the back. The air fills up with lungs coming in through our nostrils and down through our throat and into our lungs. But there's a direct energy force that comes in. And we can consciously direct that. So again, let's do this again. We want to inhale with the energy coming in into the back of the heart to the count of 8 heartbeats, whatever right number is right for you. And then exhale, the energy comes out. It becomes this energy from the sacred realms behind us, the invisible realms behind us, that we send out throughout creation, through our hearts. So let's just do that a few times. And we'll add another variation on that. Inhale to the count of 8 heartbeats. Fill your heart up with energy. And then exhale with the energy going forward. Out through your heart. Filling creation with that divine blessing. Inhale through the back. Full breath. Abdominal breathing. Exhale, pulling the abdominal muscles in. Letting that energy go out into all creation. Now this is a fabulous thing to do for creation, to add this blessing of this energy. But it's only half of the job. The other half is to take the energy of creation and bring it back to the celestial government, the spiritual government, the silent realm that the energy comes from in the first place. And we do this because this is the process of evolution. It's a feedback mechanism, the loop that lets the spiritual hierarchy, this sort of vast conglomeration of saints robed in white, the great elemental beings, the builders of form and shape in this creation. It's how we give feedback back to them. So what we want to do this, is inhale, coming in through the back, count of 8. Exhale, going out forward just like before. Only now on this inhale, pull the energy of creation directly into your heart. Fill the heart up to the count of 8 heartbeats. And then exhale, let the energy go out the back of the heart. Back to the source from which it came. And then inhale, coming in from the back. Filling our heart. Exhale, energy goes out to the front, to creation. And then inhale, pulling the energy back into the heart from the front. Fill the heart up. Exhale, the energy goes out through the back. It just takes a little bit of practice. So I'll count us through one cycle here. So, inhale from the back, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale out to the front, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale from the front into the heart, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exhale to the back, energy going backward, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just play with this a little bit. And I'll tell you about one remarkable study that never gets any press. Just to illustrate the interaction between the invisible realms behind us and physical creation around us. And that is, they've done studies on solving the New York Times crossword puzzle, the Sunday puzzle, a very famous puzzle. They've measured how long it takes people to solve the puzzle on Sunday morning. And then they take a different group of people, they batch them back and forth, test them both ways, and have them solve the puzzle on Monday morning. And they can do it faster. And one possible explanation, the one I believe in, is that this seemingly insignificant body of knowledge of how to solve that particular crossword puzzle has been uploaded by humanity into the collective consciousness. for us to draw upon. And the people on Monday morning can draw upon that knowledge and solve the puzzle quicker. Back to the breath. Inhale to the count of 8 from the back. Forward to the count of 8. Inhale into the heart from the front. Exhale to the back. Sometimes we call this the swinging breath. Swings to the front, swings to the back. And as we do this morning, would it be okay with us if the collective wisdom of the coronavirus interfacing with humanity is uploaded into our universal consciousness, our universal heart? That would include the knowledge all the humans who have so bravely accepted this virus into their lives, into their bodies, the knowledge of their bodies in terms of how to create the antibodies. Could we allow that knowledge to be uploaded and become available to each and every one of us? And allow humanity a deep immunity, a deep wisdom and knowingness in how to handle this virus. You know, after the Spanish flu virus of 1918, the second spike happened in the fall, I think October, September, October. Very wicked spike. And then the virus just disappeared. No one knows why. May I suggest this is one possible explanation. The knowledge of how to deal with the virus became universal. We are all connected at a very deep level of life. Sometimes what we do with this breath is we ask for guidance with it. This means we ask a question. What should I do about my finances? Or what should I do about my relationship or my health? Or whatever your question is. We ask the question on the inhale, energy coming in. We breathe it out to the universe. We let the energy come back in, back into our heart, then back to the celestial beings. And just sort of ask the question and then just let it go. You could try that right now. Ask a question and then just let the question go. And sometimes the answers come just into our mind like that quickly. More often than not, it just shows up in our life. We hear something a little differently and we go, that's that answer. Or we read something and we go, oh yes, that applies to me here. It can come any way we want, any way it just happens. But we ask the question, we let it go. Maybe we ask the question the next day again if we haven't gotten an answer. But we allow the universe to respond in its own way, in its own time. And as we're doing this breath, I would throw out one more description of this process. And it comes from the Taoist tradition of China. Perhaps you've heard the phrase, the marriage of heaven and earth. That comes from the Chinese, the Taoist tradition. And what it means, to my understanding, to my experience really, is that our hearts and our solar plexus working together really is where the marriage of heaven and earth takes place. There's the energy of the earth, or the energy of creation, you could say, and there's the celestial divine energy. And the earth wants the celestial energy, and the celestial energy wants the energy of creation. They each want what the other has. And where that exchange takes place is within our bodies, within our hearts. We call the solar plexus the depth of the heart. They're really very tied in together. I know my children who live in Amachi's ashram over in India, my son said to me, "What do you think about the connection of the heart and the solar plexus?" I said, we look at the heart as being the surface, that we look at the solar plexus as being the depth of the heart. And he said, "That's funny. Amachi says the heart is the surface of the solar plexus. All a matter of perspective. The truth is still the same." So let's just be with this. Just check what your experience is after doing this swinging breath. Check to see if there's a sense of more fluidity within you, of energy moving. That's a big benefit of this breath, of this practice. We move a lot of energy. It becomes easier to move energy. Check the texture of your energy, of your field right now. It's a different texture for me than when we expand way, way, way out and the texture becomes thin, etheric. Here it's stronger, more personal, more private, more alive, actually. What's it for you? That's just my experience. We want to start noticing our energy state all the time, because we are energetic beings. Energetic beings. As much as we are beings of consciousness. And it's well worth pursuing, I just assure you, this energetic mastery. We begin to love where we are, what we're doing. The heart embraces creation. The sense of wanting to escape and get out of this just fades away as creation becomes richer and richer. Fullness, upon fullness. So let's go back to this topic of politics, our political leaders and our media. I guess the media we could probably do a day on its own. So let's just focus on the politicians. Let's go back. How did you feel about President Trump? How did you feel about the government? Were they ready? Did they respond well enough? Whatever your feeling is, I know it's hard to come back and stir these feelings up when we get into our hearts, but just to the degree that you can. What don't you like here about what happened in terms of how the government has been handling this pandemic? Maybe it's President Trump. Maybe it's that we're seemingly being run by one part of the government, the CDC and the medical community. Whatever it is, could you check to see if that feeling is serving you? And if it is, perfect. In fact, just check. Would you like to just love this energy and let it go? Would you like to see if it has a message for you? Would you like to see if that energy could be transformed into more love, more harmony, more beauty? Whatever it is that you'd like. Check inside your body. When you think about President Trump, when you think about the government, do you notice any clutching? Do you notice any vibration, any sensation? Anything less than total, complete harmony? Could you welcome that energy up and just be with it? It's a fairly common teaching by now that the government is merely the reflection of the consciousness of the people, of the energy of the people. You know, we always get the government that we deserve. It has to be that way. How does that make you feel? That create any dread or any regret or any blame? Who are you blaming in this government? Could you welcome that up and just be with that feeling of blame? Do you notice that whenever we blame someone, we become victims? We make them more powerful than we are. And it's true. In some sense, the government is more powerful than we are in the sense of making rules. They can tell us to stay home and that sort of a thing. But where we have the power is in the response. Can we live in inner peace and inner freedom, no matter what constraints are placed upon us by our government? Yeah, we can, can't we? We have that ultimate authority. And from there, living in peace and harmony. Let's choose what we want to create. Let go of any resistance to the government. Could we allow the government to perform the best way that it knows it does, that it can? I think it's by far the majority of them in their quieter moments all want to be the perfect servants as public servants. And they have their constraints, their stuff constrains them, just like our stuff constrains us. But could we just let go of our judgment of the government? Let go of our judgment of Donald Trump? It really doesn't serve us. Or could we just love it, be with it? If you want to hang on to it, it's fine. Some of you hang on to it and use the energy for your own activism. Perfectly fine. Notice that we're in charge. But for the moment, let's set that aside and sit in the depths of our heart and welcome up whatever we're thinking or feeling about this coronavirus, about this pandemic. What don't we like about this pandemic? And whatever thought or feeling comes up, could you just be with that, love that, and greet it with peace and love? And greet it even more with peace and love. And even more peace and love. And what else don't you like about this pandemic? What's it done to you? What fear does it create? And when you pull up that thought or feeling, again, can you welcome it up? Greet it as just another thought or feeling for us to shift, transform, heal, or harness. Could we look at it as a gift arising? Just be with it and love it. Be with it and love it some more. Be with it and love it some more. Let it go. Use it, whatever you choose. Could you allow yourself to be the master of your own energy? Could you allow yourself to surrender to your true nature as a divine spiritual being with great mastery and great surrender simultaneously? We become the masters of our energies, of our thoughts, our feelings, and at the same time, could we allow ourselves to surrender in alignment to the complete plan of the evolution of creation? And just check. Would you rather be pursuing your own individual agenda of your ego, really, based on your conditioning, the advertisers and the culture? Or would you rather move into alignment with this divine force of evolution? Which is the more effortless flow in your life? Could you allow that even more? And could you, in terms of the coronavirus, could you surrender to whether we get that disease or not? Just check to see if you have any resistance to that. Just be with the resistance, the not liking of that. And just let that go. Let that resistance go. And let's just discriminate here for a second. Does our conscious mind really have the final say-so as to whether we are infected by this virus or not? Sure, we can social distance, we can do this, we can do that. We can be very careful. But in the long run, there's a fair amount of destiny here. And if that destiny is there for us, do we want to resist it? Or do we want to surrender to it as the smartest strategy for minimizing it? We can resist it and it persists. We can surrender and love and let it go. Would that be okay with you? And just check your heart to see if there's any more disliking of that picture. I know all those of us who are really strong, rugged individualists hold on to the notion of creation, of our own self-creation, or at least being co-creators. And I get that. I'm in that camp personally. But ultimately there is a path of life, a path of creation that seems to move according to some divine plan. Could we just surrender to that and be at peace? And more peace. And more peace. And with that, let's make sure our attention is centered in our hearts. Breathe deeply into our hearts. Just take a moment. Open your eyes when you're ready. Look around the room. So thank you very much for joining me in this formal part of the class, the guided meditation. Next we start an optional part.